what you gonna do, brother? Oh, yeah! Woo! What? What? If you smell what the rock...
You got the wrong guy. I'm the dude, man.
Welcome to another edition of Around the Turnbuckle. My name's the Big Alboski. His name, as always, is Professor Keith. And we are here by Keith. This guy, I'm going to warn you right now, is completely insane. But I'm going to introduce him anyway and let him tell you for him. That is Joshua Rio Cutshall. What's up, my man?
Hey, nice to be here. Thanks for having me. And
absolutely. Our pleasure, man. So,
thanks for spending some time.
Once upon a time, before you, jumped into a wrestling ring and started to learn to do this, you were a fan like the rest of us. When did you fall in love with professional wrestling? How old were you? How'd that all start?
I was maybe 4 or 5. I'd go to my grandmother's house. She'd babysit me, and my grandfather had an old Raging Cajun pay-per-view tape. It was the one with Ric Flair versus Steamboat for the 2 out of 3 falls. And I would sit there and just watch that every time I went over there. I'd sit there, I'd put it in, I'd get my wrestling toys out, and I'd just reenact pretty much every match every time I went over there. Like, I burnt up that tape watching it so many times. I tell you, there's Butch Reed in there. They had the Varsity Club, the Road Warriors. Like, it was just a packed pay-per-view, and I just fell in love with it right on the spot and wanted to get into it. I did it in my backyard as a kid, and once I found out how to find a school and get in there, it was game over from there.
All right, so back up. You said you did it backyard as a kid. I mean, how old were you when you started doing that?
Pretty much right around the same time. I would, I mean, it wouldn't look pretty, but I was really good. I studied it. Like, I knew that, it was, predetermined and stuff, and there's
right. Special
skills that were required to do so. Like, I didn't just run out and punch my best friend in the mouth, But I just studied it really close and just tried to put on the exact stuff I saw on TV, like, to the T. Like, I'd get entrances down, I'd get moves down, and just go from there. Me and all the neighbor kids would have a little battle royal in the front yard.
I mean, we've all done
like
a little bit
garage.
of it, haven't we?
Oh yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so you started. So you started doing your backyard. You started watching it as a kid. Did you start watching? You played that. You played the heck out of that Raging Cajun tape. But then, did you actually start watching it on TV, like maybe Saturday mornings or something like that?
Oh yeah. I watched it. I watched it all. Like, I would be there, like the Monday Night War. I'd be sitting there flipping back Monday Night Raw, Monday Night Nitro. Anytime there was a commercial or a segment that I didn't particularly find interesting, I'd right back to the other one. I watched it pretty religiously. Played all the video games as a kid. Like, I was a big super fan. Just there's a new figure coming out, I had to have it. Pretty much.
So who were some of your favorite wrestlers, like, during the Monday Night Wars?
The Monday Night Wars, you gotta go with the DX, of course. They were the most entertaining and waging the war, and being over the top, just ridiculous. And that's kind of like how I did my character. I wanted to be over the top like that, just have the freedom to do, maybe push the envelope a little bit, not too much, just keep people guessing. I enjoyed anybody from you know, Eddie Guerrero when he was on WCW, you know, obvious ones, like Alex Wright, you know, I just pretty much anybody that, you know, had a good character that you could flock to. I was all about the character stuff, you know, not just, you know, the strict athlete performer. I wanted characters, something to get involved with, something to bite onto, you know.
Gotta have
Speaking
the
of
sizzle as well as the steak.
characters, Keith, Chris Vant chiming in says the Roddy Piper bio is on tonight on A&E.
Oh, that's something to check out. When you talk about characters, you talk about a guy that, you know, brought it from that aspect. I mean, it'd be hard to argue that there was anyone
One of the
better
best
than
characters
Piper.
of all time, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was always one of my favorites. Like you know, everybody's all about the Hogan of that time and stuff. You know, I always wanted Piper. To this
I
day,
root for the heels.
oh yeah, I'm a big heel fan.
I root for the heels, man. I you know, I always have. I always will. I would root for Macho Man Randy Savage when he took on Hogan. Yeah. So yeah, trust me. I root for the heels. So how old were you when you found a school and started training?
See I got into it really late. Like, you know, a lot of people get to find a school like really young age, and you know, having like their first big matches by 18. I didn't find the school till I was 21. And even then, you know, I didn't have a lot of money to get into it. I was just going here and there when I could. My friends, like they knew the person who ran the school, because they had gotten in contact with them, and that was part of the friends that I had started doing a backyard thing with. And so I went to that school, learned, you know, a lot of the basics, which is what I really needed. Because, you know, all those years of watching the tapes and stuff and studying, you know, I picked up on a few things I had to do, like the moves and stuff. But going to get the actual training is what really paid off and to help get me into the ring. It was pretty grueling, you know. And like I said, starting out late, you know, I was always trying to play catch up, I felt, with everybody else. But, you know, it worked out.
So who trained you?
Well, at the school, it was a man named Crucifix. He was my original trainer. And you know, after I graduated the school and actually went on, you know, I still picked up stuff from here and there, but I learned a lot on the road, as a lot of the older guys do. And then I fell into a show with JD Drake, and he
Heard that
actually,
name.
yeah, actually he actually helped polish me up and make me better over the years. Like anytime I needed you know, criticism, advice, you know, I'd go to him, you know, what can I do to be better? I remember one of my first times as a heel in front of him. This is long before I did the multiple personalities and stuff, you know. I went there, you know, I thought I was doing hell of a job, you know, just I was like getting heat, you know, cheap stuff. And I came back and I was like, all right, what do you think? You know, well, how was that for a heel? Where he goes, that was horrible. That was you're a horrible heel. And so I was like, well, tell me how to be better. And from that point on, yeah, he was always on my back, you know, helped me, you know. My chest is eat up from all the chops I've taken over the years. I'll say that.
I got a question here from Eagle Fan 07 says, Josh, is it better for you to work heel or face in a match? And also, how's it hanging, guys, to us? How you doing, brother?
Yeah, how you doing? Tired, but hanging in there.
Yeah, I hear you there. Well, you know, it depends. Like, if you would have asked me a few years ago, I would have definitely said it was better to work heel. I enjoyed making people mad. I enjoyed, you know, I guess I felt like it was something I could do to get my anger out in the normal day, portray it in the ring, you know, use that as fuel. But now recently with my new gimmick and stuff, you know, and making people laugh, making moments, for people, all the kids, and like they enjoy to see me, which is crazy when you think a giant, tall man with a cage on his head and a straitjacket. Kids are like, I love this guy.
They love it.
I know.
Yeah, I actually had that experience last night at the show. We have a guy that around here that works kind of almost like a Sabu gimmick in '94, where he comes out and he's silent, and he comes out in the straight jacket, and he does a lot of the, really fast, doesn't talk, moves around, wild man gimmick. I had my 10-year-old with me, and she was just like, she just saw him come out before he did anything, and she's like, this guy's awesome. I love this.
And he's like 50 years old, Keith, by the way, and he still does it. He still loves it.
Yeah, he doesn't look it.
Yeah, he don't look 50. That's for damn sure. I got another question. Big Chris Vance says, who do you mentor your wrestling to? Do you mentor anyone?
No, I mean, I do a little mentoring here and there with some of the kids from the Palmetto Wrestling Academy, ran by Ethan Case and one of his students, Fluffman. They run a really good school, and anytime the kids need help, saying about character work or something, I mentor there a little bit. But I mean, I don't have to do much because they do a hell of a job training people there. That I'm only there if you need something for sure.
So tell us about this guy. Tell us about, where does this guy come from? This character you have now with straight jacket and a cage on his head, and where does that come from?
There was a stint there where I was wrestling for a good period of time. Then I just I got burnt out. I got stuff at home I had to handle. I quit for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then and I don't know what made me really want to go the crazy route. I guess it was just something different. Again, something I could get some of my anger out from other things. And I was gonna go strictly, straight crazy man gimmick, like Moxley and all those people, just unhinged. But over the year, I just kept adding to it, and like it kept, making more sense. Well, what if I start, because I had a bunch of old gimmicks and stuff that I tried, failed, didn't get over, didn't work. And, I started like writing, because I wanted to be the real Joshua Cutshall. So I'd have like the names on the straight jacket and I'd mark them out, like trying, like going through my brain. And then I started thinking, what if I actually just brought them back, tried them all? Because a lot of people get stuck, wanting to work one character. Right. And then you see them change out of nowhere. They're a different character, no really backstory of why they change, So I was like, well, what if I just do that all the time in the ring, and promos, just randomly? I'll be one person here, and then I'll be the next, one person next, and I can just keep it fresh continuously, no restrictions basically. So I started, thinking about the old gimmicks that didn't fail and why they didn't fail, or why they failed and why they didn't work. Said that backwards. I started thinking about why they failed, why no one got onto them, and a lot of them was because, once again, I didn't really have a character, something to really bring that person portrayal. I just was myself with a name. It didn't work. So, I started like with Ross Vegas, which is one of my personalities, Mr. Amazing Ross Vegas.
Mr. Amazing Ross Vegas.
And
I just keep thinking like Kevin Nash with Vinny Vegas. Or something.
Yeah, but
something where he's just not being who he should be.
But that's another level, though. I would have Ross Vegas that just sounds awesome.
And that's the thing. I had a great name. I had a great backstory. I wrestled in a Las Vegas singlet. My tagline was "Who would bet against me?" Just I had great stuff with it, but it just wasn't. It wasn't that extra. And so then I started doing the voice with it now. So it's like a fake mobster, like, hey, how you doing, guys?
Yeah.
It's Las Vegas.
I love it.
And that really brought that character to life now, and to where like people actually prefer, like, people that I've met in wrestling that really didn't like me when I was Vegas, like even just as a person, they just thought I was living the gimmick. Now that like Vegas is like their favorite, because he's just the straight comedy, comic relief kind of guy.
Yeah.
And it's that little stuff that really sells the characters. Like, just all I needed to add was a voice for that one,
What an interesting idea, Keith, to have somebody who has multiple personalities. So when you see him perform, you never know who you're dealing with.
That's true. And I mean, hey, it worked for Mick Foley, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Crazy sells. Crazy's always sold in wrestling. I mean, how many years did the original Sheik stay on top? Basically just coming out with, a spike, fireballs,
Yeah.
and if that audience believes that you are a crazy son of a bitch and they don't know what they're going to get and they don't know what's going to happen, you're going to draw money. You're going to get people interested. They may be terrified of you, but they're going to pay to be terrified. I mean, it's kind of the same reason we go to horror movies and things like that, right? We know Freddy is a piece of shit. We know Jason's a terrible individual. We know Michael Myers is awful. But there's that part of us that says, but I want to see it. I want to experience it.
I root for the kills. When I'm watching Friday the 13th.
And there's that too. Like, I root for horrible things to happen to these people.
Well, because these teenagers at camp, at whatever the hell, Crystal Lake, are morons. Yeah, they're morons who are doing bad things. So Jason's punishing the wicked.
Look, I can speak from experience, because I mean, I actually do live in the general area. They film the first Friday.
I know.
About half an hour or so away from me, so I can speak from experience that we do not have a lot of Mensa members.
He don't sleep outside much, is what he's saying.
Yeah.
All right, so I got another question from Eagle Fan 07. Josh, what is your favorite match of all time? Also, do you think The Undertaker will be inducted into the Hall of Fame next year?
I mean,
big questions.
Yeah, the big questions. Yeah, I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't. I mean, especially now that he fully retired and had the whole, big spiel about that. So I think, actually surprised it wasn't this year, if I'm to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, this year was kind of jumbled 2 years together. So Keith and I both agree that we think that The Undertaker deserves his own year, where he's the only one that's inducted that year. And you have basically a night of a bunch of his opponents come out and tell an Undertaker story leading up to the end, where he comes out and he tells his thing, and that's that. But the other question was, what is your favorite match of all time? I'm guessing he's not talking about one of yours, but I'm going to ask you that. I'll ask you that in a minute. What was your favorite wrestling match of all time that, mainstream WWE or whatever, WCW?
I'll have to say the last Rock Stone Cold match is WrestleMania 17, I believe, where they had that really video package, with the Limp Bizkit song, My Way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that was one of my favorites of all time, just because they made it that big fight, Phil. They made you believe, this is it for one of them. They have to, one of them has to win, and that's what I want to bring to is all that, I want them to feel it, like that, on that big of a scale.
So then my next question is, what's your favorite match of your own of all time? And what I mean by that, I don't mean like the one where you think, was the most fun for you, but when you were done and you went back through that curtain, you were like, okay, they got their money's worth tonight. We had great chemistry. We had a great opponent. Like, do you have a match or two like that in your mind?
Yeah, I do have a few. I'm usually hard on myself because I always feel like I could have done more.
Right.
Um, I'm always pretty hard on myself. There's been a few matches where I was like, that I think if I did any more, that'd be ridiculous. And it'd be like one of my earlier matches was with Tracer X. If you heard that name, but he's actually my cousin, and then so we could really just throw down, and we
Right.
knew, we trusted each other. We could really just lay our bodies on the line because we knew the other person would take care of us. Um, but we had this big spiel where we used to be a tag team called Real Excellence, and this was before the Crazy Man.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah.
I was still
I saw
hitting at
some
it.
of that old stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I was still hitting at it. We were like going crazy because I turned on him again, where I enjoyed being the heel. Uh, and like we had a good program running. Like we had about 4 or 5 matches leading up to the big blow off match where it was my belt versus his career. Um, and we had a big swerve ending and everything. And it really it really came off like people thought he was gonna lose for me cheating, and then the Swerve promoter comes out. He saw me cheat, so he restarted it, and bam, Tracer X, on top, and the crowd went crazy. So that would be one of the top matches where I feel like I actually delivered, what I set out to. And like I said, any other match, I'm just always like, well, maybe I could have done more here, could have done this or a little less of this. I'm always critiquing and trying to make it even better.
But that's part of what keeps it interesting, right? Because if you get to the point where like, I couldn't have done better than that, yeah, where's the challenge then, right? Doesn't that get you a little closer to being like, maybe I'm done with this then? If I'm feeling like I'm perfect and there's nothing more I could do to make that better, because I mean, I have that for myself in a lot of things where it's like if I don't walk away from something feeling like I could have done better, I could have done more, I could have done this instead of that, like if I don't have that ability to say I could come back at that tomorrow and do it better. That's kind of motivating. If I can't do that, I'm not as motivated to do that activity anymore, whether it's a job or it's something for fun or whatever. Like you gotta, I think, feel that criticism to keep it fresh.
No, yeah, you're right. And like I've always heard too, like a lot of people say, because if you're not nervous before you go out for a match, you might as well just hang them up. You know.
Yeah. Tell us about one Billy Brash. How did you meet him? When did you start teaming with him?
I met him back a long, long time ago. He was one of the guys, when we first met, he didn't like me. I was and stuff. We actually met. He was coming down and getting booked at the place where I actually trained at, where I started.
Yeah.
Then we, eventually, we became kind of friends, and then we started wrestling at the Viral Pro when it first started in Georgia. And they were wanting to do a big, bad heel team, big faction, and with Mikey Galino and Six, and they were wanting Brash too, and then I pitched why not I joined too, because I was, that's when I was like really just coming back and trying to, hit the ground running with my crazier stuff and my big heel. And me and Billy were kind of the same height, same size. We almost looked a lot, We had the beard. Well, he didn't have a beard then. But he was still the same, still the same build. And yeah, so we went with that, and we was called the Hellhounds at first before before it was the Monster Squad.
Monster Squad.
And it was like it's pretty neat. Like we've never teamed before, but like once we were in the ring, like we knew what the other person was pretty much gonna do. Like we had just unspoken chemistry. Like I don't even know how it happened. Like it was just meant to be pretty much. Like we could really feed off each other. And then once I started bringing out this other stuff with the characters and stuff, and he's all straight laced, it really played off each other really well.
Awesome.
That's how all the best teams are, from what I always hear. You know, they don't have to talk about it. They don't have to lay a bunch of crap out. They go out there. They know what they're gonna do. They know what the other guy does. It's instinct. It's just
Yeah,
instinct. I've heard that over and over again. Any great team you want to name, that's how it worked. It was just, I know what he's gonna do. He knows what I'm gonna do, and boom, magic. Let us go.
and it just fell
So
into place like that. But like even like stuff that he doesn't know I'm gonna do, like when I do my crazy outlandish stuff, like he still reacts like you would expect. He's like, whoa, but you know,
yeah,
like
what's
it's
going on?
perfect dynamic.
Yeah.
So Big Chris Vant is asking, how hard is the day-to-day training working, and when you're working, I guess, and then like if you have a shoot job also, how hard is it to day-to-day training, trying to get noticed to maybe get a big sign somewhere?
Training is definitely hard because you know, you're not making a lot of money on the independents until you know you get some sort of traction behind your name or you've been on the big stage already and come back down. You know, it's
Right.
gonna be really hard. You know, I got to work, you know, 40 hours at least, and then I'm just scrounging up any time I can to keep my diet on track, to go to the school and train, to go and weight train as well at the gym or wherever I got my weights. You know, I'm pretty much playing catch up with time all the time, trying to train and stay in shape to where I feel comfortable being, you know, having my shirt off in front of people in the ring, you know. And then the how hard is it to get signed? It's pretty signed. I mean, some people end up never getting signed, no matter how good they are, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just, you know, there's some stuff that, you know, there maybe even politics, or maybe they just don't understand the business side of things, you know, and it it's always going to be an uphill climb for that. Unless, you know, some people just got it, like, you know, they get the business, they get how to, you know, make moves that fast, you know, and some people just get opportunity after opportunity. Some people have to fight for it, you know. It's never given.
Yeah, it's the cool part about this show is we get to meet guys at different levels, right? We get to meet guys that have been doing it for 2 to 3 years, maybe 2 years, 3 years, and they have their dreams are sky high. They WWE, AEW, whatever. And then we got guys that have been doing it a while and are completely content with doing what they do, just getting booked, wherever they get booked because they love it that much. And then
Yeah,
we get veteran guys who have been doing it forever, and now they have made that transition to, like, maybe having their own school or being a mentor now, and so now they want to make wrestling better by getting them young and teaching them the right way, and then getting them in, and maybe helping the future of the business. So Keith and I have met like all kinds and all levels, and like to me, I love talking to all of them. I love seeing the eagerness of the younger guys. I love seeing the wisdom of the older guys, and everybody in between is just, the stories are great, and we just love it, right, Keith?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's so great to talk to people like Alan said. There's so much out there beyond what you can find on television. There's so many different stories,
Support
there's
your
so many different
locals.
guys. Yes. Support your local independents, especially if you're not happy with what you necessarily get on television. If you're a wrestling fan, you owe it to yourself to try to go out there and find that product,
They're
because no
around.
matter where you live, if you try, you're gonna find out that there's a lot more promotions than you thought, and there's a lot more wrestling out there than you thought possible.
yeah,
And the smaller shows are great because they're more intimate. The guys are hustling, they're selling gimmicks, they're selling autographs, they'll talk to you, they'll shake your hand. It's great. I can't say enough about the guys like yourself that are out there, like you say, loving the game because you're not getting rich from it. You still have to work a shoot job during the week, basically to support the habit of, hey, I want to be able to go out there on the weekend or whatever and take some bookings and scratch the itch.
yeah, and definitely as a fan, you're going to get more, you know, involvement going to these independent shows. you're going to get more of a moment, with you or your kids, meeting these guys, because we're all, just regular people trying to live our dreams too. But, we're also going to, reach out and make it more personal. If you're out there and you're enjoying yourself, we're going to make it even more enjoyable. We see that we're going to, we're going to find you in the crowd enjoying yourself, and we're going to keep, giving you moments to hold on to.
I've been at wrestling events that have 80,000 people there. And then I've been at wrestling events that have 80 people there. And I'll tell you one thing, the one that has 80 people there, I get more into. I mean, of course, I love being part of the big spectacle or something I was at, and I was the 80,000. I was referring to WrestleMania, but what I'm saying is that I love that small, intimate crowd. They get more into it. Everybody's got something to say. The wrestlers react more to what they're saying, and it's more. Everybody's part of the show, and it's more fun to me.
Yeah, like you said, more intimate, more close quarters for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
If you could book Joshua Real Cutshall into a dream match against anybody, alive, dead, retired, still wrestling, who would that be and why?
Man, so many.
Well, I mean, you could do a triple threat or a four-way dance or something.
Well, that's just any match that I'm in is really a triple threat or a four-way dance with all the people.
Or you and Billy Brash against 2 tag teams? I don't care.
I mean, back to like the Piper thing. If it would have been possible, like if I was, around Piper's prime and I was doing my stuff around then, that would be like one of the dream matches.
I love that.
And one that is alive, Hurricane Helms, that would be a good one for me.
Shane Helms?
I also have the Cyclone character.
Nice. Yeah, you have the Cyclone character. You have the Cyclone versus the Hurricane. That would be awesome.
Yes.
Keith, you got anybody in mind for this guy? Dream match scenario?
Yeah, I'm trying to think, because I always try to get these things, skill set and what makes sense. And he threw out some good ones.
I'd say Foley, Mankind. That's the first one I'd put him in. I'd put him in. I'd put him in with the straight jacket and the cage, and go in there and have Mick Foley as Mankind, and basically have a falls count anywhere.
Yeah, I think he's having some internet problems. I know he said he couldn't hear us at one point.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. Can you hear us, Josh, or no?
He's gone.
Yeah, he's having some internet issues.
All right, so I'll pop this up here real quick. I have it just in case. And I want to tell you guys, if you have not seen these A&E things now, what they do is they take it's like some old footage and some old biography site type documentary stuff that WWE has already done and kind of put it all together with the current. So last week they had Stone Cold Steve Austin. This week they got Roddy Piper, and Cutshall just mentioned Roddy Piper. How we doing, bud?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, my phone went out for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, it happens.
It happens. Yeah. So tonight, we're definitely going to check out tonight on A&E. Roddy Piper. Cutshall just mentioned him as a dream match opponent. And I love that answer because Roddy's one of my all-time favorites. I had I told Keith a bunch of times, but he forgot. Last week on Around the Turnbuckle, I revealed that I was in the building when he smashed Snuka in the head with a coconut, but I was 5 or 6 years old.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, they used to tape Superstars of Wrestling at the Agricultural Hall, and my my stepfather used to take me when I was a kid because he knew that I liked wrestling. And one time he took me there. They were taping like 3 or 4 episodes of Superstars, so we were there for like
we were doing 4 weeks.
We were there for like we were there for like 4 hours. But they promised us that at the end of the night they'd give us a big time main event to reward us, and that wasn't on TV. And that was they put Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant teaming up against Big John Studd and King Kong Bundy. Now, I'm a 5-year-old kid and I'm watching those guys walk by. I'm like, you know, mystified at how big they were as a 5-year-old kid. Well, Roddy Piper did the whole Piper's Pit thing where he's making fun of Snuka and he's saying, I bought coconuts for you, and I bought this and I bought that for you. And then he takes the coconut, smashes it on his head. And I don't remember it much, but my stepfather tells the story all the time. I didn't talk for the rest of the night. I was in shock and awe that happened. And when I think of the moment when I fell in love with pro wrestling, that was it. Roddy Piper smashing the coconut over Snooker's head, of all things. But yeah, I can't wait for that tonight. It's gonna be fun to watch that tonight. And I love that was your answer for your dream match. That's freaking awesome.
Because Piper was so good as a promo too. Like he could seemingly. Because I always think back to the first time I saw Piper was WrestleMania 8 with Bret Hart, and he's cutting that
the Intercontinental title.
Right, and he's cutting that promo, and it's almost like he's burying Bret Hart, but at the same token, he's putting Bret over where he's like talking about like, when you were a baby and your dad, and okay, you peed the bed until you were 7, but you're still good. You're still very good. You're a good wrestler. Just because you peed the bed until you were 7, that's okay. Who cares? And like he would run him down, but then he would also put him over, and then he would give Bret these opportunities, kind of just at the end of it, be like, okay, stop. We're gonna go out there, and I'm gonna beat you to death. And then they go out there, and it's double juice, and oh my god, it's still one of my favorite matches ever. Those two.
It was a really good match. WrestleMania 8 for the Intercontinental title. Hoosier Dome, 80,000 people there.
Yep, double juice, which you never saw that in WWE at that point. Oh, so good. So good.
So you have anything coming? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, Piper always delivers. He makes those moments like you held on to with the coconut and stuff.
Yeah, he had I had to go back and watch his early feuds in AWA with Ric Flair. Those were some good matches. I mean, those were some great matches that a lot of people that are younger than me, don't know too much about, because I mean, you want to talk about Piper in his prime and Flair in his prime. I mean, young, AWA stuff, early 80s, like 81, 82 kind of stuff. But you got anything coming up that you would like to maybe mention or promote? You got any events that you're going to be wrestling or appearing at?
This weekend's a pretty full weekend. We start Friday. Benefit show for Lance Lude, one of the Ugly Ducklings. He recently got diagnosed with some cancer, and so we're putting on a show to help pay for some of his medical expenses and stuff.
That's awesome.
That is
awesome.
awesome.
Bunch of people from the Carolinas. I'm teaming up with Billy again for this one, the Monster Squad versus the Dawsons. There's going to be White Mike used to be in the Gymnasties versus Darius Carter. There's going to be just a bunch of really good. It's a stacked card, it's going to be a good show.
Where's this at for anybody that might see this on your Facebook page?
This will be in Burlington, North Carolina. It'll be on my Facebook page, the actual address.
There you go.
I don't have it right in front of me. But that'll be in Burlington, North Carolina. Then Saturday for PCW in Columbia, they'll be their first show back since the pandemic. So it'd be a good one. And then Sunday I'll be going to New Jersey for Catalyst Wrestling.
Oh, Catalyst. Yeah. Down your neck of the woods, Keith.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, I'm glad that we got you then, because you got a busy weekend coming up.
Get the word out.
No, but I mean, I'm glad that we were able to schedule him today, because he could have been busy this weekend.
Yeah.
Did you wrestle yesterday?
No, I had the day off yesterday. I just been catching up on stuff. Yeah.
The reason why I ask is because with restrictions starting to lift everywhere and people getting the vaccine, and it's great to see fans coming back. It's great to see events being booked, and it's exciting to see. And I'm so happy and excited about it. It was really cool to see fans at WrestleMania this past year. I mean, last month. That was great. So, so where do you see Joshua Cutshall in the future, in 5 years?
5 years, obviously, I hope I'm under contract by then. But if not, I hope I'm still just plugging away and enjoying it and making good moments for people. Still having great matches. I hope I'm one of the guys that, even, all the guys that do get signed, I hope I'm one of the guys that they look back and be like, I'd wrestle him anytime. I'd like to, be in the ring with him at any point in time. He's a good hand. And if I'm just a good hand and people enjoy me, I'll be happy, in this business.
Would you consider, would you consider wrestling for one of the mainstream promotions? Like, when you say get signed, does it matter who you get signed to? Do you have a preference?
I mean, right now, the way things are going, my preference would be AEW right now.
AEW. Have you been following them?
Yeah.
Do you watch them a lot?
Yeah, I've been following them, and a bunch of people I know have been,
on the dark match.
I just like the fact. Yeah, I'm just I'm a fan of that they don't try to completely change you. They want you and your character.
Yeah.
Per se, they give a little more freedom than just bringing you in and then making you something that you're not and trying to force that to happen.
We've been hearing that a lot, and we've also been hearing, from guests on this show, we've also been hearing, right, Keith, that guys watch AEW Dark, especially because they're like, oh my God, I know him, or oh, that's awesome, he's getting a chance, or guys that you might have cross paths with are getting a shot here or there. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully someday that happens for you.
Here's hoping. I'm definitely going to keep hitting the ground running and trying to make it happen.
Yeah, and one of the things that encourages me too is MLW just getting a deal with Vice TV. That's great. I hope more cable networks start looking at these up and coming indies and whatnot to have a bit of a following, have some money behind them, and say, hey, let's give them some TV. Let's give it a shot, because the more places guys have to work, the better. I'd love to see a day very soon where we're not just talking about, like we did back in the day about the big three. Let's talk about the big five. Let's talk about the big 10. As many as we can. Let's get wrestling out there. Let's get places for guys to work and guys to work full time. Please, please, please.
And it keeps it fresh too, always having, something different to look at instead of just the same few things that you're seeing. You can go here to watch something, or if you're feeling completely different, go to the other, promotions. It'd be really nice for that.
Absolutely.
So if you could book yourself right now against somebody in AEW just to show them what you got, who would that be?
I mean, I'd be a fool not to say Cody Rhodes, right?
Yeah, Cody is kind of the guy to go against. I have a lot of respect for what Cody does. Cody is very, very polished.
And he's one of those guys that, like I've always, hyped on the character. Any character that he was given, he smashed it out of the park.
He did. He hated the Stardust thing, but he did it.
Mm-hmm. And killed
you know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. I got nothing but, again, with what Keith said, I have nothing but respect for that guy. I wish that he had more of a hand in what goes on in AEW. The only problem I have with AEW is it's got way too many hands in the basket. I really think they need some leadership, some strong, good writing and good leadership there, rather than have them sit in a room with 6 guys and say, well, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do this, But I am glad that a lot of independent wrestlers have a place that's not WWE that they can go to and get and maybe make it and get a nice contract, maybe make a living doing what they love to do. It's somewhere else to go. Cody Rhodes has called it that himself. He said, I'm talking to all those wrestlers out there who think it's WWE or bust. Come here to Jacksonville and, make it happen because, and we've had some guys, Keith, right? We've had some guys on this show that have done just that, which is great. I love when that happens. I love it when it happens.
But that's the flip side where I say, too, there's got to be even more than that because AEW's only got so much television time and they've only got so much ability to feature folks. So that's why I say the more places that can catch on, can get out there, the more roster spots that's going to open up, the more opportunities that's going to open up for people to get their chance and hit that home run that they know they can hit. Because when you see somebody really get it and really get that opportunity and make it, that is the most beautiful thing in the world.
Love it.
It is.
Cutshall, last question. Mm-hmm. Is there any question? Is there anything that you would like to ask us?
Yeah. If you were a wrestler, what would your character be?
I bet you, see, I picture Keith as basically a manager, right? Where he's like somebody like Jim Cornette. And I would picture myself as channeling all my favorite guys. I would definitely, I don't know what I'd call myself. I definitely would not call myself the Big Alboski because that would not work. But we would come up with something where I was a dickhead heel. B, I didn't give a damn about it. C, I had a little bit of Macho Man and a little bit of Roddy Piper kind of mixed into one.
A little plethora of people.
Yeah,
I get that.
Right. Also, I'd start working out like a son of a bitch because I'm way out of shape and I'm 45. So, but yeah, that's the best question I ever heard. That's awesome. Keith, am I wrong in saying that? Would you be a wrestler or man? I consider you more of a manager. You'd be more of an annoying mouthpiece.
That's what I always kind of saw myself as either a manager or like doing commentary or something, just, either doing the play-by-play or, in there with kind of almost the Bobby Heenan thing of like, oh, it's not bad that he tried to hit that guy with a foreign object. The bad part is he missed. or like the smarmy, like almost lawyer type where it's like, no, my client gets a rematch under Section 3, Paragraph 2, Article 5. It clearly states that you cannot count to 3 that quickly. The cadence needs to be 2 seconds between each fall of the hand, just some horrible thing like that where the audience is just like, I want to tear this guy apart. Please, please, please let me tear this guy apart. Something like that, where it's so annoying and nebbish and nerdy that
if I had that in my corner, Cutshall, I'd be the most hated man in wrestling right there. Don't you think? Like that would be the key.
A good mouthpiece like that. That's what really get a lot of people over is the people right there. The manager. A real good manager will send you to the top.
Mm.
All right, man. We're gonna let you out of here. Thank you so much for coming on. I wish you continued success, as I'm sure Keith does. And I you know, may all your dreams come true and all that. I urge everybody to check him out. He's got matches on YouTube from the past few years. Great matches, singles matches, tag matches. I found them rather easily, which is awesome because that means you're out there for people to watch. If you're not in the Carolinas and you can't see him live, you can see him. You can see some of his stuff on some of his work on YouTube. You can follow him on Instagram at Real Joshua Cutshall and on Facebook at Joshua Real Cutshall. And he puts all his stuff on there as well, man. Josh, it was great talking to you, man. And thank you so much for coming on Around the Turnbuckle.
Thanks for having me. You guys are great.
Absolutely, man. And listen, big shout out to Tony Batista for this T-shirt. He knows what I'm talking about. Big Tony. We saw him wrestle last night. I promise I give him a shout out. Joshua Real Cutshall. Thanks for being on Around the Turnbuckle, man. And don't go away when we sign off, okay?
All right.
Keith, we'll see him when? Next week? I always ask you because I always forget. Saturday? We got a show Saturday?
Yeah, I believe we have a show Saturday. We don't have anything booked. Well, wait a minute. Actually, what's next Saturday?
Oh,
no,
wait.
I think that,
Tony Batista pops in. You look great in that shirt. Thank you, Tony. Last second comment right there.
Yeah.
Great show again, fellas. Thank you, Joe Frazier. Thank you, everybody, for chiming in. Thank you, Cutshall, for joining us on Around the Turnbuckle. We'll see everybody, as the professor said, Saturday at 6 o'clock on our normal time slot for Around the Turnbuckle.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you gonna do, brother? Oh, yeah! Woo! What? If you smell what the rock